Hi, my name's Daniel. I'm 37 years old, and until about 6 months ago, I thought my life was as steady as it could get. I grew up in the Midwest, nothing fancy, son of a truck driver and a school teacher, the kind of upbringing where you learn early that life doesn't hand you anything unless you work for it. I put myself through college, worked in it, climbed slowly into middle management. Along the way, I met Emily. She was this bright, kind, endlessly curious woman who seemed to have a spark I was missing in myself. We married when I was 28 and she was 26. We weren't the kind of couple people wrote novels about, no whirlwind drama, no grand gestures, but there was a sense of partnership, like we were building something brick by brick. For years, that was enough. We bought a modest house in the suburbs, got a dog, filled our weekends with hikes and movie nights, went on trips when we could afford them. Friends would joke that we were disgustingly stable, the couple who always left parties together, who argued about nothing bigger than which takeout place to order from. If you had asked me even a year ago, I'd have told you without hesitation that I trusted Emily more than anyone on this planet. And that's what makes what happened feel like such a jagged crack through the middle of my life. Because when you trust someone so completely, you stop looking for signs. You don't read into late nights at work, or the extra time spent on her phone, or the way she started dressing a little nicer on days she said she had meetings. You just believe. That's the cruelty of it. I believed right up until the moment I couldn't anymore. It started with something small, a text message that popped up on her phone when we were sitting on the couch one night. I wasn't snooping. She had set her phone down face up, and the screen lit up. Just a name I didn't recognize and a heart emoji. I remember asking casually, "Who's that?" And she snatched the phone up faster than I'd ever seen her move. Said it was a coworker, an inside joke, nothing serious. I wanted to believe her, so I did. That's what trust does, it makes you complicit in your own blindness. But after that night, a seed was planted. I noticed more. The way she'd tilt the screen away when she typed. How she suddenly started going to the gym more often, coming home flushed in ways that didn't feel like just exercise. How she'd laugh at messages but never share what was funny. I tried to shrug it off, but the pit in my stomach grew heavier each day. Eventually, suspicion curdled into something I couldn't ignore. I checked our phone bill. I know, that's a click, straight out of some bad soap opera, but there it was. Repeated calls and texts to a number I didn't know, often late at night, sometimes during her supposed work hours. I copied the number, searched it. It belonged to another man. Not just any man, someone from her office, a project manager I'd met once at a holiday party. I can still picture him, taller than me, confident, the kind of guy who knows he's good-looking and leans into it. That discovery didn't bring clarity. It brought chaos, because then I was faced with the choice: confront her right away, or wait and see how deep it went. I decided, against my own better instincts, to gather proof. It felt sick, like I was poisoning myself daily, but I needed to know if I was crazy or if my marriage was really unraveling. I started noticing patterns. On nights she claimed to have team dinners, she'd be gone for hours, come home smelling faintly of cologne that wasn't hers, her hair tousled in ways that didn't match a restaurant outing. I'd ask how it went, and she'd give vague answers, quick deflections. Sometimes I'd press and she'd snap, "Why are you interrogating me?" As if I was the one crossing a line. And maybe I was, but what choice did I have when every instinct screamed that something was wrong? The breaking point came on a Thursday night. She said she was meeting coworkers for drinks after a long day. I waited, heart hammering, then after an hour I drove to the bar she mentioned. Her car wasn't there. I circled the block 3 times, hoping maybe I'd missed it, but no. I called her, no answer, texted, no reply. 2 hours later she came home, cheerful, carrying a bag of takeout like nothing was amiss. And when I asked how the drinks went, she rattled off names of people I knew for a fact weren't even in town that week. That was when I realized the person I thought I knew, the woman I'd built a life with, was capable of lying to my face with ease. It was like watching a stranger slip into my wife's skin. That night, I barely slept. I lay next to her while she breathed evenly, like a woman with no weight on her conscience, and I stared at the ceiling wondering how long I'd been living in a version of reality that wasn't real. My chest felt tight, my hands restless. I thought about the vows we'd made, about the years we'd spent saving for our home, about the vacations where she'd squeeze my hand and say, "I can't imagine my life without you." Was all of that a lie, or had something shifted recently, some crack that widened when I wasn't paying attention? The next morning, I tried to act normal. We had coffee together. She asked if I could pick up dog food on my way home from work. kissed me lightly, and left. That kiss stayed on my lips all day, not as comfort but as a taunt. I kept picturing her kissing him the same way, maybe deeper, maybe with a hunger she had given me in months. It drove me crazy, the idea that intimacy, something I thought was ours, was being repurposed for someone else. I couldn't keep suffocating in suspicion. I did something I'm not proud of. I went through her phone. I waited until she showered that night, her phone left unlocked on the dresser, and I dove in. Heart hammering, stomach churning, but I did it. And there it was. Hundreds of messages. Flirty, intimate, sometimes explicit. Her telling him she missed him, him calling her baby, them reminiscing about nights together. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped the phone. Every word I read was a knife, but I couldn't stop. I learned things I didn't want to know. That they'd been seeing each other for months. That she lied about work trips they'd gone out of town together once, in a hotel room paid for by his company card. That she told him things she never told me, about her dreams, her fears, how alive she felt with him. Reading that, I wasn't just angry, I was hollowed out. Because I thought I was the one she confided in. I thought I was the safe place. And now I was just the guy she came home to when she was done with him. When she came out of the shower, towel wrapped around her, humming like nothing was wrong, I couldn't even look at her. I set her phone back quietly and mumbled something about being tired, rolling over before she could see my face. Inside, though, I was burning. My mind spun with images of them together, and each one was worse than the last. The following days were a blur. I went to work, nodded through meetings, pretended to function. At night, I'd lie awake listening to her breathe and wonder if she was dreaming about him. I caught myself staring at her hands, her lips, her body, trying to map out which parts of her belonged to me and which parts she had already given away. It was torture, and I didn't know how much longer I could endure it. Finally, I broke. One evening I told her we needed to talk. She looked nervous immediately, like she knew what was coming. We sat at the kitchen table, the same table where we'd eaten countless dinners, where we'd planned vacations and argued over bills, and I asked her directly, "Are you seeing someone else?" Her face went pale, then hardened. She tried to deflect, asked why I was accusing her, told me I was being paranoid. But when I pressed, when I said I'd seen the messages, her whole facade cracked. She didn't deny it. She didn't even try. She just lowered her head into her hands and whispered, "I'm sorry." That word sorry rang in my ears. Sorry doesn't erase the lies, the nights, the intimacy stolen. Sorry doesn't rebuild trust shattered into a million pieces. I asked her why. Why him? Why risk everything we built? She couldn't give me a clear answer. She said she felt unappreciated, that he made her feel desired, that it just happened. I wanted to scream. Nothing just happens. You don't accidentally text someone hundreds of times. You don't accidentally check into hotels. You don't accidentally tell another man you love him. But I didn't scream. I sat there in silence while my world collapsed around me. That night, I slept in the guest room. She cried behind the locked bathroom door. The house felt different, like the walls themselves had shifted, like our memories had soured overnight. The days since then have been surreal. We're still under the same roof, though I don't know for how long. Some mornings she tries to talk, tries to explain, begs for another chance. Other times we move around each other like ghosts, barely speaking. Our friends don't know yet. Our families don't know. Outwardly, nothing has changed, but inside, everything has. And I keep wondering about myself. Am I weak if I even consider forgiving her? Am I cruel if I leave without looking back? I don't have the answers. All I know is that the life I thought I had is gone, and am left with pieces I'm not sure I can put back together. The strange thing about betrayal is how it makes time feel warped. Days stretch on endlessly, yet weeks vanish before you realize it. One moment I was sitting at that kitchen table listening to my wife admit she'd been unfaithful, and the next, a month had passed where we lived in this twilight version of our marriage. Same routines, same address, same faces, but everything hollowed out, stripped of trust. I tried, for a little while, to picture a version of the future where we patched things up. I told myself maybe people do survive this. Maybe I could swallow the humiliation, the images that haunted me, and move forward. She promised to cut him off, deleted his number in front of me, cried until her eyes were raw. For a brief moment, I wanted to believe we could start over. But the truth is, once you see your partner's heart in someone else's hands, you can't unsee it. Every time she smiled at me, I wondered if he'd seen that same smile. Every time she touched me, I wondered if he was in the back of her mind. The final nail came not in some dramatic explosion, but in a quiet, almost pathetic way. I logged into our shared laptop one night to pay bills and found her email still open. In her drafts folder was a half-written message to him. She hadn't sent it, but she'd started it. I miss you. I don't know how much longer I can. That was enough. Proof that even as she begged me to stay, part of her was still tethered to him.